What's going on, Internet? I'd like to welcome you guys back to Respectfully Speaking, the podcast where we talk about all things geek. Thanks for tuning in into episode number 13. Now, before we get into the topics, if you're watching the YouTube version of the podcast on youtube.com/respectfully speaking, know this podcast is also available on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and all other major platforms. My name is James, and I'm here with my two co-hosts today, Jason and Malcolm.
I was thinking this week, it was a dumb question that came to my mind. And I was like, I gotta ask this on the pod, but I wanted to hear your honest thoughts. You know how there are certain shows that have a narrator, like a really prominent narrator, like with Dragon Ball Z, they have their intro outro, and sometimes oh, meanwhile in the forest, and it's like Gohan just fumbling around, or Hunter x Hunter is the main one that I'm thinking of, where the narrator actually drives
Yeah.
plot on a regular basis. Like, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Hunter x Hunter, during the Chimera Ant arc, um, when Netero was training, and he was doing his every day he would do his gratitude punches or whatever, right? And then every day got faster and faster, and then one day he was actually fast or whatever, or he realized that he finished before the sun was down, and then they fast forward 10 years, and it pretty much just glazing him to set up the fact that he's an absolute beast of a man, and then he's about to head off against the king of the Commanders, right? What shows do you think would be elevated by
Yeah.
strategic narration, if not just narration in general? Because what I was thinking of was Naruto started with the whole oh, Naruto Fox blah blah blah, but there's not really a narrator for the majority of Naruto. But then there are shows like Avatar that have Avatar Roku doing the episode recaps. Yeah. So,
previously on Avatar, and then
mhm.
Katara does the
What
famous
shows do
intro.
you think would be elevated or dope with narration? How would you do that narration? In terms of just intro, outro, and what's the tone? Would it be dramatic? Would it be super whimsical? And then if you're done, or if you want to even mention shows that could have done without it, or done with it differently, my main one being Legend of Korra. I did not like the radio host announcer past post season one. Post season one, it didn't really. Season one, it made perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
Post season one, I really wish they had just done Aang or something.
hmm
It would have been cool. But what are your thoughts?
I was not expecting you to ask this type of question. I thought you were going to say, "What is your favorite
Nope.
narration?"
I want
in
original
anime?"
thoughts only.
Okay.
I'll go. So the way I think about it is that I always feel like narrated shows work well with probably not too gloomy type of show like Psychopaths, for example, or Tokyo Ghoul. Even though I feel like if you could probably find something to make it work, but I feel like narrative voices work with either children like shows or um, vibrant type of setups, type of atmosphere, type of show. So what comes to mind when I think of maybe not vibrant, like super colorful, but something where it's not dark and gloomy, but there's a large cast with a lot of emotions, but also the ability to have that narrator come in when there's a high peak moment, ooh, something crazy about to go down. For me, that would have to be My Hero Academia. I think a narrative voice, especially during the tournament arcs, the first festival arc, would have been really engaging when you have these characters having an inner monologue, their frustrations, their motivations all laid out for you as an audience member. But then they do these crazy movesets like the icy hot condom dude. I think a lot of those moments would have been really fire to hear a narrator just talk about these movesets.
Like in
So I will
a
go with
announcer
that.
kind of way, or
Um,
just
I don't
previously
know about the
on, or just mid episode, explaining
yeah.
their powers, oh, this time, Todoroki's never gone this far, but this time something snapped in his head. You know how they did with Killua, and I don't know, but what's the range?
Yeah, something something like that. My range would be something where the narrator is involved to inform the audience what the character is feeling in their inner sense at that moment, right? So, for example, My Hero Academia, they already have someone speak every time a quirk is introduced. They do a quick introduction of what the quirk is and the weaknesses and the strengths of it. But I wanted to go deeper when it's battle scenes because there's a good example. with Deku and Overhaul, that whole fighting sequence, I think that could have would have enhanced my enjoyment significantly if you had a narrator describing Overhaul's inner workings, like his inner mind, or what he was thinking, and Deku's resolve to save. I forgot the girl's name that
It's
can
the girl
turn
with
back
the horn,
time.
right?
I think it's like Air or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, the girl with the horns. Yeah, her. Like I feel like that whole sequence of them fighting and the rocks are falling and all this back and forth. I think with a narrative
especially
voice
with
that could
Lemillion
really
when he
heighten
was
everything
coming
up for
up.
me.
That would have been dope. I will
Yes,
say, I will say, how
yes,
would you do that
yes.
without compromising the tone? Because again, right now the voice I'm having in my mind is like the deeper, like more like formal voice. What voice would you do? Or if there was a character in the show who
I
you
was
could
yeah.
tell me.
That was the question I was going to ask. I was going to say, like, can I add on to your question? Would you make it a narrator, just like a regular narrator voice that
Your
has nothing to
choice.
do with any of the characters in the show, or would you make it one of the voices of one of the characters? I'm Max and James specifically for his My Hero take. Like, would you make it one of the characters in the show narrating it, like it's Deku or Todoroki or even All Might, like doing the narration, at least that voice, or would you just make it random narrator voice A that's just has nothing to do with is none of the actual characters.
So I think for me, I want to do the option where the narrator is not the voice of any of the cast. And here's the reason why I think it could work in this specific scenario. We know in the beginning of My Hero Academia, the first episode, this is a story of the past. This is Deku talking about how he became the number one hero in the world. So we already know this is past tense. So this could be read as a book, as we are
Like a history
looking
book.
through in a third person perspective of Deku's battles, right? Like a history book, right? A third person description of what the number one hero's adventures were, and so that could work with this. Now, in terms of tone, it don't whimsical doesn't work because My Hero Academia is a battle shonen, which means that you want the narrative to make it feel like this is a serious situation, right? You don't want to be laughing or feeling lighthearted when there's something
Like you
tense
don't want
going
Paul
on,
Rudd doing
like
that joint.
Deku and Overhaul. Yeah, you don't want Paul Rudd doing that joint, or when Stain comes to the picture, like you don't want to have some whimsical, lighthearted voice narrating what's going on with Stain and his battles with the other heroes, right? So you want something that has that tone of I want the narrator when the narrator comes in, I want it to indicate to me subconsciously that this is about to be a big deal in terms of the story. The writer is doing this because this is about to be a monumental moment for the character development,
Like the
or
narrator
some
is
plot
never
twist is
used
going to
for
happen
lighthearted
with these character.
plot device. That's all.
Right,
That's all
right. They're only
exposition
used when
only.
something
But
big's
all right, so if
happening.
you had to choose
Yeah,
a voice in your head, like name like a
yeah.
celebrity or a character whose voice that sounds similar, like I need to visualize this. Yeah,
You want to picture
because
it,
I keep thinking
right?
of the only
Hmm.
prominent narrators I know off the top of my
Um.
head right now, which are the Avatar, Dragon Ball Z, and Hunter x Hunter verse. I think they have like, three of the more prominent, famous anime narrator voices, and I can't fit any of those three in with my hero. It
Hmm.
just doesn't work.
The best. Here's the to get the idea of what I'm looking for. Okay. Um. In the same wheelhouse, I would want the voice to have that type of grovel a little bit of when they speak, you listen to them. And I want to say similar to Kevin Conroy's Batman from the Batman animated series and everything beyond, like that type of voice where it's like, oh, I'm listening to hear what you're saying. 'Cause I know what you're about to say. It's about to
Itachi's
be
voice actor,
flames
bro.
or something I gotta pay attention to. That's what I mean.
Tell me that wouldn't be hot. His English
Yeah.
voice actor.
His English
I mean,
voice actors
they would.
specifically. That's
I
the
mean,
first thing
Japanese people are going to be
came to
watching this
mind.
too.
First thing.
Like as Itachi's Japanese voice actor as well. But
Yeah.
can you imagine that? Like,
That's what I'm. Yep.
I had to like
Yep.
picture Itachi narrating My Hero Academia now.
That would throw me. That throws me
I'm
a
pretty
loop.
sure he does like
Dude,
live
if
videos and
he
even like do video requests.
like ebook, like like Audible, like any of my books, I'll pay $50 for a copy of any book that he did. Dude,
Just to hear him read it. Yeah.
I'm gonna send this to
dude,
him. I'm
at
gonna
him when we post
DM
this.
him
At him
and
with
say like,
like,
hey, at
he said,
Crispin
please
at
do an
Crispin
Audible
Freeman.
of literally
Yep.
any book. You could do like one of those light novel,
Mm-hmm.
The Cat in the
The Cat in the Hat.
Hat.
Please,
Kind of
the
hat.
Cat in the Hat.
Do a light novel, like any of those
I would
anime
pay
light
for that.
novel like spin-off series. Like if you did one of the Bleach ones, that'd be kind of hot.
Yup.
You'll pick
Yeah.
Itachi's voice actor.
That's what I would pick. Hmm? I think that's
Yeah,
pretty
I
much the
think so
wheelhouse I'm
too.
looking for.
What
Yeah.
about you, Malcolm? How do
Yeah.
you answer this?
Y'all gonna call me a hater
How does
as always.
how does
You
this
take one
equate to
guess.
hating? We didn't say anything. How are we already in hate?
No, I'm saying you're going to say that I'm a hater for
In
this.
terms of what
So
show
take
would be
one
dope?
guess. What do you
Naruto.
think I'm gonna say? No, it's already
One Piece.
it's already dope. It would make it worse.
No,
There
no,
you go,
no.
James.
Well, you said I thought
Yeah, we need to enhance One Piece.
One Piece has narration.
You're gonna say that I'm a hater because One Piece
One
is
Piece
not good enough.
is a
Not
masterpiece.
good enough.
It's a masterclass of story. I'm rewatching the Alabasta arc right now, just because of that one episode we watched together, and I'm hooked again. And I'm telling you right now,
I'm glad.
One Piece's narration
glad.
is perfect. It is
It's cool.
absolutely perfect.
Malcolm, I can't wait till you watch the remake of One Piece.
I'm
wait
not
watching
can't
it.
sure
wait
if
till they
anything
make a
can
good
live up to the
remake.
original whimsical of the original episodes, because
It's a cool show.
I
At
think
this
their
point, it's
episodes
cool.
in the
It's all right.
desert.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm telling you,
Goated is crazy.
even that, because he's like, oh, there's so
I'm
many
just
episodes, so many episodes, dude. The episodes where they're just like, they seem like filler, but they're not filler. They're like building the story, introducing characters. They even introduced poneglyphs already, but we didn't even call them that.
Mhm.
That's like
I don't even know
crazy.
what that is.
I
I don't even know what that
wouldn't
is.
spoil it unless I had to go through deep explanation. But essentially, like, there's so much stuff from late show that's here now, early show, and there are a handful of moments where Oda dropped the ball, but the
Mhm.
narration in One Piece is goated, bro. They even have a map.
I would say they
They use
the little intro that they do in the beginning with the
no.
not the 4 kids one. No, but like the little intro that they do in the opening, especially or like the first couple episodes, and like yeah, like the Pirate King and all that stuff. Like yeah, that's cool. That's cute. Um, I think that for me, it could benefit more from like kind of similar to what James was saying, that more grit and grovel like narration in like some moments, which I guess would take away from the whimsical of it. But I think I think it could benefit.
One Piece
I
has
think
this
I would
like
love
mix
it. I don't know
between
if I
like
love it.
slightly old western, like Run 'em Gun 'em, and then this like
Mm-hmm.
theatrical, like full orchestra vibe going on. And the narrator, I think, fits that in between really well. So I personally wouldn't change it. But what show would you add a new
I think
narrator to that doesn't have narration? Because you can't just cop out by just dogging on One Piece.
that it was legit like the second show I thought of. The first show. Well, I first thought of like Naruto. What do you could you use it? I was like, nah, I don't want to do
Why
that.
not?
And then what was it? What was it? Because I wouldn't enjoy it if it had a narrator. I like it the way it is. I think a narrator would take away from some of the moments. Um, for me, at least. I don't know. I don't really even know how to explain my thought. I'm just like I don't like a narrator in Naruto. It just doesn't seem like a show that would work. Again, my opinion, as with a narrator. My Hero was one of them. James already said that. I agree pretty much with everything he said. There was another show that I just forgot off the top of my head.
Oh dang!
Oh my god!
Wait,
The
the show that I
shonen.
said the shonen.
No,
Is it
no.
a
There's
new
a show
school
that I
shonen
was thinking
vibes,
off the top of my
or-
head. No,
Like recently, like
within maybe the past 10-ish years.
Black Clover.
I think it was Assassination Classroom.
Oh,
Doesn't it kind of
I
have
see a
it
more comedic type of narration with that.
here and there?
Like it has it, but
More
I'm sure Malcolm
prominent.
probably wants it to be more in hand, like more involved, maybe.
Yeah, like a more prominent,
Gotcha.
involved like narration
Yeah,
in the show. That can be a little bit sillier. It's not like that it needs to be sillier, but I think it would work.
Honestly, I do think a narrator
That's
would
I don't
really
know.
help some of the, I guess, like there are shows that are like have its strong points and its weak points, and there are a lot of shows that do the whole like we're shonen, we're slice of life, and then also comedy. And comedy tends to be the hardest one to nail for a lot of these, except for ones like Dragon Ball and One Piece are the exceptions because they're both like shonen gag mangas, except Dragon Ball even more since Dragon Ball wasn't even a shonen for real. It was a gag manga that turned into a martial arts anime that invented shonen. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. Where I would say,
Mm.
um, yeah, I think it definitely would help the comedic at least set the tone. I think that's why I like certain shows like Disaster's Life of Psyche K because his inner monologue commenting and chiming in on other people's thoughts and crap because you can hear everyone's thoughts and it like creates this endless comedy. You could say that a narrator could infuse something like that into a show that I don't think anyone thinks of Assassination Classroom being a funny show. I don't think of it as a funny show.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I don't think it is. No.
How about Demon Slayer?
Honestly, I can see it.
Okay, just throwing it out there.
If you think about it, like for example, if you think about the Mugen Train movie, essentially, I feel like that would have made things more enhanced if you had a narrator during those tough scenes, especially like that final fight between. I haven't watched Demon Slayer in a while.
The
The guy
Flame
with the flaming
Hashira.
yellow hair and the crazy.
Don't ask me to remember that.
Yeah,
I think the
yeah,
movie might be
Yeah, that guy.
improved with a narrator.
yeah.
I think you're right
Because
about
don't.
that. I think that's dead on.
Yeah, because you already had the
So like
background
you mean like
good. Yeah.
super involved narrator or just like beginning outro and then what voice? Whose voice did you put in there?
What do you think, Malcolm?
I think I would want a more involved narrator instead of just intro outro.
Yeah.
And now in terms of voice, I think a more calm in the middle, like doesn't have to be like deep and gritty and like heavy, but I'm not looking for a light, whimsical, lighthearted,
So a more
soft.
exposition
Like,
type of
yeah, I'm
narrator.
more like adventure narrator. Like I'm trying to not say
Iroh?
Iroh's voice, but like
I can't imagine that at
That's a
all.
weird. I
I
can't
know.
imagine Iroh, but I know what you mean.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying. I don't know why that keeps coming to my head, but like that's not what I'm looking
Like
for.
like
More
a
so like
I know what you mean,
Like
like a
Kakashi's
storyteller
voice?
type of voice.
yeah, a calm storyteller type of voice. I can kind of see it. I think I'm just so used to hearing his voice not being a narrator that it'll just.
I think Akashi would be a dope narrator, but
I don't know.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean, Malcolm. Yeah, like a storyteller who's there to tell you like the play by play what's going on and everything. Yeah.
with a not too serious,
Yeah.
not too not too lax voice.
Wait, speaking of which, you guys plan to watch that Demon Slayer
Uh,
movie coming
in
out in
theaters,
September,
probably not, but I
October?
definitely want to see it.
Yeah,
Nah, the
Will
Moon
not
movie
waste
I
my
need to see
time.
in theaters right now.
I'm gonna
Is
watch
the
it.
Superman movie. I still need to see that bad boy. Yeah, yeah,
See you
I
next
know.
Tuesday.
I'm
Different
just saying.
podcast, but yes.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
my turn. I'm gonna be super brief about it since I kind of been like answering while you guys
Yeah,
are
go ahead.
talking. I would definitely do Naruto, and I would do
Sure.
different mentors of Naruto at different points of the story, especially Jiraiya because he had his whole
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah,
I was about to say dry. I said dry voice
Jiraiya's
for
voice actor's
Demon
actually
Slayer is
done
probably what I'm more
narration
going for
in
anyway. Why you doing
some
it?
video games. That much I already know. But as far as in this show, Jiraiya 100%, maybe Lord Third, um, Kakashi in certain parts of the Ninja War. Pretty much, when Jiraiya dies, he stops being narrated. Straight up.
Yeah.
And then I think I would introduce a narrator in a genre that doesn't usually get it. Um, Mainly because you mentioned I thought of this literally when you were talking earlier, James, about shows like Psychopaths and things like that, like super gritty mystery dark sending shows. I think not because I think it'll make it more like light, but I think it might add a little bit of like theatrical tone Sort of like what happened with Death Note, where Death Note wasn't necessarily
Yeah,
narrated. The soundtrack was so theatrical on top of the really, really excessive acting from both Light Yagami and L. I liked I like that, and I would like to see that in more Sennin, even if it's not overly often.
yeah,
Um, and I also think it would really help with. I don't want to like insult the intelligence of the viewer because a lot of this mystery shows leaves things overly subtle, so that like the end of mysteries can be really a big payoff, but then otherwise. But I don't think it would be harmful to use the narrator to add extra information. You know what I mean? Things that are harder to necessarily communicate with just pictures. But I also think like that's a taste thing. I think that's what I would do. Like maybe
do you think do you think the monster anime would be good with a narrator? With that same what your idea is? Do you think that could apply
Monster's a
well
hard
with the
one to
monster
touch
anime
because it's
too?
considered a masterpiece. You don't really want to touch stuff like that. I
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I think
That's
just
true. You
because
pretty
that
much don't
show is
want to risk it. Yeah,
super like there was no fat on that show. Like they were very selective on when they ever even used the soundtrack. For goodness sake, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And so I probably wouldn't use a narrator in a show like that. I might use it for other mystery
Like
shows that
monster,
ended
yeah.
up being like real C tier shows that really could have been elevated by better exposition and or even a narrator helping you to really get the character or personality of a lot of the side characters
Yeah,
that tend to fall back by the wayside, things of that nature. You know what I mean? Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, okay, okay. All right, so for me, it was My Hero Academia. Malcolm, it was what again?
It was One Piece, but then y'all said
One
no.
Piece,
Then
Demon
Demon
Slayer.
Slayer.
Yeah, and then for Jason, he likes his dark,
But
gritty
also
animes that have
Naruto with
narration,
mentors.
basically. Um, Also, Naruto with mentors. Yes, yes. Okay. So, with that said, I wanted to ask Jason because if you guys don't remember, we were supposed to have a whole review of the anime Amagami Sisters, or
It's tying
twisting
the
the
knot.
knot, or
Yeah.
tying the knot with the Amagami Sisters. That was the title. Yeah, tying the knot. And we committed to the idea of watching the first four episodes. We watched more, but
What episode did you
I
make it to?
personally dropped it at episode 11.
And
I
Mako,
made it
I
to
don't think
11.
ever watched again.
And Malcolm, how about you?
Made it to 5.
He stopped. He didn't even
He
commit
was
after
like, I
that.
got
He
a
was like
job.
mid whatever,
I'm not gonna watch
and
all this anime.
got a job and all this stuff. And Jason's the only one who watched the entire first season, so he will take charge on this one. But I just want to say quickly my reasons on why I personally didn't watch it before I hand off to Jason. Me personally is I am not like a rom com expert. I am not someone who's like, oh, you have to have all these tropes in it for me to be engaged with it. It's not that. It's more so the fact that there wasn't any interesting plot questions that I had from this anime that wanted me to keep watching to figure out what else is there. Right? Like there there are shows out there like slice of life animes where you're just watching it just to watch characters have a life. That's completely cool. That's not necessarily my wheelhouse, but I do respect it and I do understand it is an anime genre that a lot of people appreciate. It's just not my cup of tea. But even still, then I do have a few sprinkles of slice of life and romance animes I'm into, but they all like from
I,
Kaguya-sama,
I don't know.
Horimiya, or Horimiya.
I've heard it both ways. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was like, huh?
you was
The
trying to
gears are
figure it out.
turning.
You ain't know either. Horimiya,
Yeah.
quintessential quintuplets, etc. And they all had something that made me want to keep turning, whether it was about a character question I had or a plot question. In this show, even though it did have some type of hints towards it, it wasn't enough that really made me want to stick down and watch it. And I knew it was a show I probably wouldn't like when I was doing my meal prep. And when you're doing meal prep and you're having stuff in the background to just not really look at but just to listen to, I was so bored from it and I wasn't even looking at it. So I had to switch it to something else. That's how I knew it wasn't for me personally. So with that said, I'm gonna take that to Jason and let him explain to you what me and Malcolm didn't watch and Jason's
Bro,
overall
I have a
thoughts
lot
on
of thoughts on
it. Take
this
it away,
joint.
Jason.
I think I long suffered through this show, bro. Like that's the way that I describe it. So this kind of brought me back to how I used to be, um, where I used to like if I started a show, I finished it. Like, and I remember I remember the first time I had to drop a show. It was just so bad. This show wasn't that bad, but I think it's the best way that I can put it. Um, Overall, I feel like the show is a wasted potential. Wasted potential, wasted potential, wasted potential. I think there's so many things in there that were really dope that just got dropped like a bad habit. I think there were a lot of interesting plot developments that just never got resolved, or when they did get resolved, it was like really weird. The pacing and direction of the show, I think, was the nail in the coffin. But I think it probably makes sense for me to explain what happened after we left off. I have here our notes from last time we recorded on this. Obviously, main plot, there's a guy named Uryu. He wants to go to med school and he's also an atheist. And somehow, some way, the lady who works at the orphanage that he helps out at and lived at after his mom died helped him out by connecting him with the shrine owner. And that shrine owner was trying to marry off one of his three daughters or granddaughters, one of his three granddaughters, to get essentially a new owner or a new head of the shrine so that the shrine wouldn't have to close down. Fast forward, like all this cringy bitterness between Uryu and the girls. You got like little glimpses of their personalities. Been like, oh, this character is really into cats. This other character is really good artist and has a lot of random skills, but is super ditzy and airheaded. This other character likes to run. All right, cool. And I think I really started getting invested. I think on episode 4 or 5 because I saw a lot of potential, especially with the whole dynamic of there's a whole group of people that he already had in his community before he moved in, and they were all at the orphanage, and they really, I think those are the episodes that I found really interesting. They have sort of an antagonist figure, this guy who is essentially the benefactor of the shrine, and he has the financial means to either decide whether or not the shrine stays or goes. Um, there's that. I could honestly sum up the show as like the show progresses by putting them through because I think after the initial first 5 6 episodes, they've kind of established the fact that he's going to live with them. He's warming up to the idea of what they do. Is he goes from being a complete jerk about it to being more thoughtful, even though he still believes in what he believes in, and he's like kind of atheist. By halfway through the show, he's not atheist anymore. He actually believes in the gods, but he still chooses to not rely on them because that's his whole character thing. And I thought that was interesting that he decided to stick with that, and honestly, like a little bit respectable in terms of like a writer from a writing point of view, so that he has some level of like integrity, like short term. As far as like the episodes go, like there would be certain episodes with certain focuses on different girls. One of them was with the backstories. So they started getting into the backstories. Um, there were backstories on where each of the girls came from, how they ended up being in the shrine in the first place. It was super obvious in the beginning that these girls don't look anything like each other. How are they sisters? They don't look anything like each other because all three of them are adopted. Um, Yep. All three of them are adopted. Feel free to cut in and chime in if you have any thoughts, just so I'm not like running, talking straight, because that's
What? They're adopted? Who saw that coming? Girls with different hair colors
they
are
were.
adopted. Say it ain't
None of them looked
so.
anything alike, even from a character standpoint. And then, honestly, the only one that I thought wasn't adopted was Yai, because the picture of their mom also had black hair, and so I was like, maybe. And I was like,
That's fair. Wait, so all three of
no,
them are
no.
not
So
related to
essentially,
that
this
woman?
woman was like this amazing, like shrine. She was pretty much running the whole shrine by herself with minimal help from the grandfather. But she literally worked herself to death. Like it was like they said that she like died because she got sick, but they said she got sick because she like was exhausted. So it was like death by overwork. They didn't say it explicitly, but that's essentially what it seems like. And then
Dang.
turns out Uryu had already met Yai in the past. That was one of the really interesting things. Like this is what I'm saying about like there's a lot of potential in this show, and you'll have a series of episodes that get into the backstory and a lot of like supernatural ish kind of stuff that was really interesting. That has to do with like all the gods that are in the area, all the deities.
That does sound like it would be interesting, and like they could make a season two and like
It's too late
rework
for me.
it to be better than season one. Does that make? I mean, I get that, but do you see what I'm saying? Like they took
Hmm.
season one. There was a lot of potential in your opinion,
Not even close.
and they didn't live up to it throughout season one. But they could revamp it and make it better. Not in the same exact way as Avatar, because Avatar was good in season one. But like, I feel like everyone can agree that season one is the weakest out of the three. But just
It
because
was a
it
setup.
is, not that it was bad in any way, but like season two,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was a setup. Yeah,
And so like, could you see that this show be similar, whereas like season two like really sets that
I
up,
could see that. I
or
really could see that.
absolutely not?
But for me,
Dang.
like one of the big things that really fried me when I was watching this was like when we all started watching anime, or actually maybe not just me and Malcolm, because James kind of got into anime a little bit later outside of Dragon Ball. But like back in like the early to pretty much the whole 2000s up into the early to mid 2010s, a lot of anime, like there was no such thing as 12 episode series for the most part. Most of them were 24 to like 50-ish episodes. And so essentially people were guaranteed that. And so characters were set up and stories were set up more fleshed out than ever. And there was also the general consensus of 3 day rule. We have 3 days to sell you on the premise of this show so that we actually have permission to really um, lay the groundwork down. Yeah, and we talked about this in the
3 days,
past
three
with
episodes.
shows like that are really popular manga wise, but really folded in the anime and like to the point where they're struggling, like Fire Force. This show actually got that 24
Yep.
episodes in 2024 or whatever, whenever it came out, and it's still like sucked.
Yeah.
I almost think it would have been better if they had exposed a little bit less earlier on and really established some like grounded characters. So one of the biggest weaknesses in this show is the character writing, bro. Uryu barely felt like a real person. I appreciate a lot of the self
Really.
awareness that we talked about earlier in the show, with Uryu like realizing that he's kind of like a savior complex, a narcissist. But that was the running gag for the
Yeah.
whole show. They just look at Uryu being a narcissist again. That was it.
Really.
If I had $1 for every time they made that joke, I
Mm.
might buy a pair of dunks right now. Like the reality is like they they just beat that to death. But then there were interesting episodes like with the supernatural thing. Like Yai got lost when they were all going to some like shrine or whatever. Yuna, the redhead chick, she was essentially trying to like keep um, Yai and Asahi's the no, not Asahi. Asahi's the childhood friend, I think. I can't remember what the youngest sister's name is, but essentially the youngest and oldest sister are slowly starting to really bond with
Hinata.
Uryu, and she's starting to notice, and she doesn't like it. Um, but it's not that deep yet with the older one, Yuna, and so like she gets lost like in the woods somewhere near
Yeah.
some shrine path that they were going on. There's one of Yuna's friends, because she's in college, one of her best friends from college. She's like not with Uryu at all. Like, she does not like him. I'm probably gonna tell a little bit of this out of order, but essentially in that episode or two episodes, he went to a mixer with Yai so that she wouldn't get hit on, and then like a bunch of guys were like acting real weird, and then he was like, "Stop that!" And he's like, "Well, we're not gonna stop. We're not gonna stop." And then he made up a lie that he was her boyfriend. She was happy about it. The best friend was not. She was an op for a little bit. Fast forward a little bit. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I remember that episode.
Yeah.
That's where I stopped at.
Fast forward
Yeah.
past that, they go to the shrine, whatever.
Yeah.
Yuna gets lost, and then when he's trying to find her, he kind of goes back in time and it's kind of like reliving his memories, but like also re-experiencing them in live time, except in his childhood body. And then he actually meets Yuna. She's
Mm.
like slightly older than him. She's wearing a kimono and she's like lost and crying like somewhere in a park. And he does this whole we do thing. I think these are the moments of the show where it's like really getting good. Like you get to like he's still like Uryu, but like he has the presence of mind of when he was younger. But they're still writing the show in a linear fashion so far as these interactions between him and the girls are still happening. And then what happens is after that, he essentially saves her from a really abusive mom. essentially Yuna had run away from her mom. Her mom's like a super like well-to-do, like almost I guess quasi nobility. I can't really explain it, um, but like, oh, you're my daughter. You have to be good at
Got
this.
you.
You have to be
Okay.
good at that. She's taking classes for all these random things, which is why Yuna has all these. Not Yuna. Yai has all these skill. Yeah, I think I was the older one. Yai
Yeah.
has all these random
Okay.
skills. Can play the piano or whatever. Like she can do all those things because she was constantly doing all that. But then um, Udi was just like, "You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You know what? Come with me." And then he ran off with her when she was because she had run away just a little bit, but she was about to let herself get caught by the security guards that her mom sent to retrieve her. They came out in like a black like car, black suits
Ooh.
and tie, all that stuff. It's like so she's like very like high up in terms of like whatever family she's in. But what happens is Uryu saves her from that, and like he ends up leading her to the Amagami shrine, and she gets adopted because essentially after that happened, the mom was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. You know what? You're done. I disown you. You don't want to live this life. You don't want to enjoy the privileges that I was going to
Jeez.
give you to live like a highborn life and be all fancy and buku or whatever. You're done. You're cooked. And then she ended up getting adopted by the Yamagami Shrine instead. And I was like, wow, like all this exposition, this is a really good way to do it. He went back in time and it was kind of like a vision. He got knocked out. He woke up, then she's there.
Wow.
And then they're all talking or whatever. And then he accidentally falls down the top of the steps of this shrine thing and he thinks he's about to die. And then he passes out and then he wakes up and he's like, where was I? He wakes up in his bed and it's like, oh, it never happened. And so now you're starting to get into this really cool mind bendy, like, what's a vision? What's not a vision? How much of this is supernatural? What's part of it a dream?
See,
And I'm like,
that
yeah,
sounds
man, all
really
right,
cool and
finally, the
really
show's
interesting.
about to start
Yeah.
cooking. And then it just like goes back to these stupid, lazy, like gags and jokes, and I'm just like, oh, like, here we go again. Like, and then you just have they had
You
a
saw the
similar
potential there,
episode
basically.
with the youngest. I might have written it down in the notes we took last time.
The blue-haired daughter, right?
God,
Blue-haired
what
sister.
what are
Yeah.
their names, bro?
I mean, that sounds the most interesting. I mean, like the way you're talking about it, I'm like, dang, wait, a supernatural rom com. I'm
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it
and
already.
I
Like, I
think
like
that's
what's
I'd
why
watch
people
happening.
that.
are watching
Yeah,
it
I'd watch
because
it.
and like I think when I was younger, like there's a difference between like a really good show and a show that would have been really good if they executed it perfectly. And I think when I was younger, I couldn't tell the difference. I just equated potential with like goodness, and it's not necessarily the same thing. So I really got to give this show props because it was really doing it for those couple of episodes, and then it just stopped. Right. There was another series of episodes. There was a series of episodes with the youngest, and essentially she's doing her track star thing and then also just trying to help out at the shrine. Everyone's doing their best so the shrine doesn't close down. The story is also hinting at the fact that Uryu's slowly slipping in his grades, just barely, because he's really like he can't choose between his original goal that he said he was like
Ooh.
10 toes down on, and the fact that he's being a super saver, like trying to save these girls in their shrine and doing this and that, and it's super like it's like
Wearing
that's
thin.
really interesting. That would have been
Mm-hmm.
really dope. But then like the way that that's executed is just like Udio being like, "Oh my god, I can't stand these girls. They suck. They're so annoying. Blah blah blah." But I can't help but to help them. And I'm just like, it's the same way I felt when I was watching the Flash live action, where he kept saying, "I
Savior
just need to be a
complex.
little faster," and I'm like, "All right, how many times are you gonna say this line before it stops being character development?" Yeah,
You literally have Flashpoint.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
how much faster can you
it's
be?
this isn't
That,
even
you
character
know.
development anymore, and it's not even interesting anymore. So they started doing that. She's doing her track star thing. There's an
Yeah.
important event that's happening at the shrine, and they decide like like not Asahi. They might actually be Asahi. I might be mixing Asahi and the other childhood friend girl character with the white hair. They
I go
both
by
have
the
white
hair
hair
color,
though.
so you ain't losing me
Um,
yet.
yeah. Oh, also I
Oh
failed to
crap, you're
mention
right.
Yuna, the redhead um, middle child of the three girls. They are in high school together now.
Yeah, the mill
But
child.
then they're
Yeah.
doing this whole thing like, don't talk to me while we're going to and from school because I don't want people thinking that we live together because that would be really weird and awkward, which is true. Um, so they go to the same school. There are some
How
plots
deep?
that flow out of that. Um, but either way, they do this
Okay.
whole like Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya thing where the days keep repeating over and over again until they get it right and get out of the loop. Where just Asahi, the youngest, and Uryu keep going, keep going through the same day over and over again until they figure out what the heck was the issue. Because the first day they went through it and it was just a regular day. They didn't know it was about the repeat. She decided not to go to the shrine thing. Everyone's like, let's just be supportive of Asahi, even though, and like, we'll just take care of stuff at the shrine. It's fine. And then she wins the race. Uryu does something so that the girls can still be like, see them and support. Like, he's like running next to her while she's running. And then he has his phone on FaceTime and they're like, oh my God, here, blah, blah. And then they have this other shrine maiden who works at another shrine that's kind of like the mentor figure of the girls. She shows up to the race.
Mm-hmm.
It's all fine and
Yeah.
good, beautiful, whatever. Then they move over to talk about, or then the episode repeats. Then this time they're like, she's like, did you realize what happened? And he's like, so the day repeated for you too. So they both realize the day repeated. They don't tell anyone, obviously. Then they just keep going. And then there's like the day repeats. This time she helps out of the shrine.
Oh, you know,
What's up?
I want to jump in real quick. Hold on. I just want to say that everything you're explaining to me sounds
Exactly.
incredibly interesting. Like, I like the idea of the supernatural romance where, like, almost the supernatural adventures help build the character development, character dynamics with each other. Like, it makes it feel a little fresh than what we were getting
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
first
It
12
shook things up
episodes.
for me, and I
That's
think that
interesting.
was what kept me watching till the end. Because again, I was kind of holding out hope that it would become like, all right, like at least a pretty okay first season that justified coming back for a really good built off second season. I did not feel that way about the show at all. I think the show was just a little bit better than shows like Rent a Girlfriend. you know, just you know, actually no, that's
Yeah.
disrespectful to Amagami sisters. It's a decent bit better than that. Rent a
Dang.
Girlfriend was just
Wow. All right. Wow.
Rent a Girlfriend.
I thought you would have.
I
Okay,
did.
so that means you liked
Because
it more
again,
than I expected you to.
Yeah.
both.
Or you just really hate Rent a Girlfriend.
Rent a Girlfriend is just a really trash show. There's like one good character in that whole show.
Fair. As four
Yo,
seasons, though, it's popular.
popular don't mean good, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
One Piece has
entitled to my
10.
opinion.
Oh, here
Already.
we go.
People who like that show enjoy it. That's fine. I personally didn't like the main character. I thought he was kind of wimpy and lame.
Yeah.
I didn't like the main antagonist, the blonde chick. Thought she was weird. I like the main heroine. She's cool. Blue chick showed up. The blue hair chick showed up. Don't even know why that even happened. I guess it just felt random. And then like the other red hair chick, I think she showed up. If I'm remembering that correctly. Don't know why that happened to you.
I don't know.
I
We
was
never
giving
watched
you
the
not a
anime.
Rent a
my
Girlfriend. This is
30
not a Rent a
seconds.
Girlfriend.
That's all. I just thought it wasn't the best show.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was very good.
I
Amagami
respect
Sisters,
it.
where I left off, that whole like episode rewinding thing was just super lame. It's like a really cool idea, but the execution was bad, and it just left the taste in
Really?
my mouth feeling like, so you just ripped off a classic of classics, this the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, just to drop the ball majorly. Most of the scenes with that youngest sister and Uryu are super duper cringy because she's doing this whole like forced like, oh, I really like you, but I'm also trying to tease you by like, like being overly flirtatious to see if I can get you to blush and blah blah blah. But like it just falls flat and it's just
Yep.
super cringy, super cringy. And then the whole like resolution, I still don't kind of get. The resolution was like, oh, Uryu, you're trying to solve the problem too much because you guys came up with all these different ideas to stop the days from repeating. But what does she want to do? And then he has this whole like character moment of like, oh, I keep trying to fix things because I really care, and I didn't even let you guys like lead yourselves to a certain degree, even though I'm still gonna continue to fix things for the rest of the show. I thought that was kind of lame.
Right.
And then it was
You know, I feel like I gotta
yeah,
finish this show
again,
down the way you're describing this.
it's
I
so
don't.
Just to
much
really get my
potential,
own personal
and it just
opinion.
dropped the ball. And then the next one with Yuna, also really interesting. Just like with Yai, this time Yuna and Uryu swap bodies, and I hate that trope usually. Like he woke
What?
up and he was like, ah, time to get ready for like school or whatever. Looks in the mirror, huh? And then like they call each other on like their respective cell phones. It's like, what's going on? Get over here right now. And they go outside and talk about it. And like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're not gonna do. And he's got to try to like not come off weird to like Yuna's friends, and she's got to try to study so Uryu's grades don't tank while she's in his body, like different things like that. And then he has to like, but this was really interesting because they didn't do anything really cringy with it.
Oh, hold
It's
on.
the middle child, the
Yuna
redhead
is the
chick,
which
the one
one?
that's actually his age. They're in the same grade together.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I
the
just
only ones who are the same
yeah,
age.
yes. Good. Perfect. Cool. Great.
And
Great.
then
Great. Same age. All that matters.
they swap bodies, and then instead of like, obviously they had the couple of scenes that you expect from an anime, but they didn't stay there very long. They went to
Yeah.
like Udi really seeing like, dang, like Yuna really works hard at all these stuff. Like she has to like memorize all these specific shrine dances for like the performances and stuff like that, and she like does this and prays with this person and goes to that spot and like checks in with these members of the community. It's like, wow, like Yuna's really doing all of this stuff. I knew she was working hard, but I didn't realize she was working this hard. And then Yuna has a similar moment in Uryu's body, realizing like, man, he was keeping up with all of our chores and this studying and all this other stuff, and they're appreciating each other in that way. And then he's realizing, hey, I don't really know Yuna as well as I thought I did. I think I had some assumptions. It's like really good character writing, and like the pacing's good. And we also get introduced to Yuna's best friend at school, and then that's really interesting. We realize that Yuna, when she was a child, was really suppressing her dreams. Um, because as soon as
Yeah.
like her mom started feeling sick, she kind of felt like she had to like live up to this and that. And and it wasn't even like, oh, she didn't want to be the leader of the shrine. She did. She just stopped believing in herself. So it wasn't like they had a lot of this really interesting, like well fleshed out character development for Yuna and Moody together. And I thought it was super good. That's when I was like kind of like watching 4 or 5 in a row, and they kept going and going. And then that finally got resolved. And then there came the episode with the childhood friend, which I thought was going to be really good because the childhood friend, the one who also lived at the orphanage with Udiyu after their parents died, she was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought she was like a kind of like spunky character, a little bit on the funnier side, not as cringy as the others. They kind of turned her into a weird yandere type situation for a second. I was telling you over the phone about it, James. I really didn't like that. So she came
Really?
over. And I thought it was kind of cool where they went about it. And this is where
That's
I go
right.
back to like the direction was trash. Um, they went to. She came over to study with you. He was like, man, it's been a while since we studied together. They're studying together. He already made dinner and stuff for the girls. Everything's already set up. And then she's like, kind of doing her shoot her shot moment. And like before that, like there's like them studying together, but the girls keep interrupting and stuff like that. And he notices like, dang, like Yai likes like who do you crap like dang like he has girls that like him. And then the younger sister likes him. He's like, is
Yep.
that what I thought it is? And then he like went and confirmed like just by the way that she interacted. He's like, dang. And then Yuna, after the body swap, I think really started to like bond with Udiyu in a way. And she peeps
Yeah.
like, dang, like oh, 3 of them, like that's competition. And then you find out it's not just her like, dang, like these girls like him. It's more like, hey, I like this guy, and I didn't think I was ever gonna have any competition. I was enjoying that limbo of like soft flirting, kind of friendly, like, but I kind of feel like I have you,
Yeah.
like, like, oh, I got you, like, you're not going anywhere. We kind of have this thing, but unbeknownst to me,
Right.
these girls are scooping you up from underneath me. And so I was like, interesting. Keep going. And then she shoots her shot, and she's like, hey, do you want to
Right.
come over for dinner, maybe? And he was like, actually, yeah, I already made dinner. Everything's good. And she's like, yes, that's so cool. And her eyes light up, and it's all cute or whatever. And then they both go outside to leave to go to her spot so he can have dinner with her. And then, like, all you hear is, like, yelling from the house, like, crash sound, pots clanging. Like, he was like, actually, on second thought, I think I might need to be here after all. I might need to hold it down here. And she, like, is super heartbroken. And I'm like, they made it a little bit too dramatic, especially it's, it
That's
sounds so sweet,
that
but
sounds
again,
so
like this is
sweet
about
though.
directing, not necessarily the
Yeah.
story. The story and direction is everything. So they kind of made it like real dramatic. I'm like, all right, it's whatever. Like they didn't necessarily make it. They did drop some hints here and there that she was interested, which I really appreciated. But then like she gets home and then all you see is this like an empty house, that one little like hanging kitchen light over the table, like plastic wrapped food that looked really good because she had already prepared in advance, hoping to shoot her shot before that even happened. No,
Oh,
I'm
Jason,
telling you,
this
I'm
sounds
really with
fire.
it.
I don't
I'm
know
like,
what you
dang,
talking
this
about.
show is so good. And then like she has her head on the table doing them serial killer eyes, like you know them anime serial killer eyes. I was like, you're like, whoa, like it was a tonal shift that I wasn't ready
Yeah.
for. If she was like, and then
Oh, yeah. Never mind. I
totally
should have waited.
killed the
Whoa, what?
momentum. It made me stop watching for the night, bro. I didn't finish the. I stopped watching for the next 2 days because I was like, that sucked.
You,
It
you
was
like she was
like
like
like you know when they make your
serious.
eyes like hollowed out in anime, it's like the full color eyed versus like the
Mm-hmm.
flat colored circle with like the
Oh,
slight lines
those.
under, and it
Yeah.
makes you look
Yeah.
like oh this character's about to snap and stab
Yeah.
somebody. They did that. I was like, that's not heartbroken. That looks sadistic. Like I don't even know why they even went there. It looked like she was getting ready, like, oh, if I can't help him, no one can. That's what that like was giving, and it wasn't even in a cute way. And then she just proceeded to be unhinged for the next 2 episodes. Another
Oh no,
bro,
Go ahead,
you
Malcolm.
had
Watch
me.
it.
This past hour, you were like, yeah,
I'm
yo, this
telling
part,
you,
this part. I'm like,
the
all right, I'm
show
really like,
has
why did I stop
potential.
watching
It's
this show?
either
And then you're
good.
just
It's either
like,
like
nah.
7.5 out of 10 or 4, and it's just like. And so I'm glad I finished it. I'm not watching season 2, but what happened
Yep.
after that is she's doing her whole yandere thing. That really killed the vibe. At first, I was like, oh, she's like, she might be like, best girl low key. Never mind. Never mind. Nah, that yandere stuff is not it, bro. And after that,
And work.
they start talking about like this one shrine nearby where if you like wish something, that the god will make your wish come true. Udo and the 3 girls go there. They make some
Hmm.
wishes. Yuna's like, oh, I want to like I have a dream that I get to eat good food all the time. And then like Asahi's just like, yeah, like I want to like run a
Yeah.
race and win it or something, and it's like a really important race. And then Yuna is like, I said Yai then Yuna, so Yai is first, and then Yuno's like, oh, like I want blah blah blah, and the shrine to go really good, and then like, eat dongos. It's like a pastry that her best friend makes. Her best friend works at a shop, by the way. I didn't get into that. Her dad works at a food thing, and then she also works there.
Okay.
And then
Yep.
meanwhile, the childhood friend character is behind the shrine, praying super hard on some crazy eyes, yandere type stuff. Like, please have my wish, please have my wish, please have my wish, please have my wish happen, please, 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 please. And then suddenly
Ooh.
reality shifts. Uryu wakes up. He's actually in the bed in the orphanage,
Really?
and he's just like, "What am I doing here? I don't remember coming here. I guess I just fell asleep or something. Let me go back to the shrine and see what's happening." He gets out of the room and goes to the bathroom to get ready. Childhood friends in there. Insert super cliche scene. Well, we don't know totally what's happening. We don't know who
Yeah.
remembers what, or if Uryu is the only one who remembers the previous existence of the world that we knew. And essentially, she's super chummy with
Really?
him, super flirty. Turns out they're actually boyfriend girlfriend in this universe. She wished.
So when she went to
She
she
essentially
wished
wished
into
that
another
she didn't say, "Oh,
universe.
I want a new universe." She just said, "I wish he never met the girls in that shrine, and that he was my boyfriend." And that's essentially what happened. And for me, I was
So
like,
there's another
"Dog, I
dimension.
hate this stuff." Ugh. Fast forward, he goes to the shrine.
Okay, I'm back now. I'm back now. This sounds good, trashy. Not in a good show, but I'm here for the unhinged
Bro, do I
chaos
just have
that
to
this
watch
show is
these
bringing now.
shows
I
and
love it
narrate
again.
for you guys? And that's just like another part of the pod.
Honestly, Jason, your
All
original
right.
icebreaker question,
So
you're the
the
narrator.
reality is, dude, after
Jason
this,
narrator.
he goes back to the shrine. He's just like, he comes in, and then they see him. He's like, what is this dude doing like so deep into our property? This is past the point of the property where it's the front ending shrine. It's the residential part of the property where all the girls live. And then he just says like their names real quick, and then walks by. And he's like, "Excuse me, who are you?" And he's like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Are you tired?" Like, and then he's about to go inside, and she's like, Yuna's like, "Mm, mm. I don't know who you think you are, but you're not about to just waltz onto our property acting like you own the place." And he was like, "What are you talking about, Yuna? This is me. Who do you like?"
Yeah.
And then like he says Yai's name. He's like, "You remember me too, right? Yeah, the older one." And she's like, "Oh no, we don't." The youngest girl, Ozzy, she's just like, "Oh my gosh, I think he's a stalker. He knows our names. How does he know our names? We don't know him. We've never seen him. Why is he here? He gets shooed off the property. He goes back to the orphanage. He sits and ruminates like, what happened? I obviously remember things happening. These last couple of months living with the girls didn't just they weren't made up. I remember them all. And suddenly, childhood friend character is my girlfriend now. Like, what's going on?" He explains, and then like 3 4 days pass by. Things don't go back to normal. He stops by again. He gets shoot off even more aggressively. Then he returns. So he returns to the house, and then like the blonde, the pink haired doctor that kind of raised Uryu in some ways after his mom died. Him, the childhood
Yeah.
friend
Yeah.
character, and the doctor, they're all talking, and he's kind of explaining like, no, like I don't think it's a dream. I definitely did live with blah blah blah. And he was like, yeah, you seem really sure about it, but none of us remember this. You know what I mean? And then like he does one last appeal
Yeah.
with the oh yeah, and then he's just trying to get to the bottom of it. Meanwhile, the childhood friend character is just like, yo, like I'm like being a good girlfriend to you. Like, why are you being weird? And then he says something like, kind of like, yeah, I just need to be like over there, like helping out the girls. Like something feels missing. And then she just gets like offended. Like, why are you talking about these other girls? I'm right here. I'm your girlfriend. Like, what the heck is going on? She storms off. The pink haired doctor parent figure lady was just like, yo, you should choose your words wiser. Try to make up with her. And he was like, all right.
Yeah.
And then he dips out and then goes back to the shrine. He makes his grand appeal. They decide to hear him out. They hear him out all the way, and they're like, dang, you know a lot to be uh uh yeah, like this isn't something that
To be a stranger.
and he does like some nice thing that like shows him like, like only someone who we would have told something really intimate would know that. That's not something a stalker would know. It's something that someone that we would know. And so he's pretty much like, you're adopted, you're adopted, you're adopted. And he's like, oh, you know, like type time. That was one of the things
Yeah.
that he said to prove that like, yeah, I'm not
So
making
then,
this up. There is an alternate universe seemingly that we all live together, and I considered you guys my family. Um, and then they decide like, we're
oh
gonna help you. We don't know what to do. We're gonna go see like our other shrine person, see if she can help us. That black haired woman who worked at the sister shrine, who was a mentor to the three girls. um
yeah.
yeah, so that continues. And then the childhood friend character shows up, and she's like, he leaves, he's about to go back to the thing. He opens the door, she's standing outside just drenched in the rain with them crazy eyes again. I'm like, here's with the
Was
yandere
she
crazy
mad?
eyes. Like they could have made her desperate without making her look like a psychopath. You know what I mean? Like they could have done that, but they
She
didn't,
mad?
and I think they
She a
really
hater?
really
Yeah.
killed that character for me. And essentially, like,
Dang.
she comes in, they talk, they hash it out, and then she does eventually admit like, yeah, I actually do remember the previous world too, and I did make that wish, and this happened because of me. And then she just apologizes, and she's crying her eyes out. I don't even know what she's like, I don't even know what I was thinking. I just got so jealous, and I was afraid. I was always afraid to like ask you out type situation, like, and because of that I made this wish instead of just telling you how I felt, and I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I don't know what we can do to make it right, but I'll do whatever it takes. They all go to the shrine together. They talk to the lady, and they said, you're gonna have to like go back to that like god at that shrine and like make it right. Fast forward, they do that. But before she does that, the black haired shrine lady, she gives like Uryu a cryptic warning, like, hey, like this is like the fix it that you're looking for is gonna cost you. Turns out to get things back, they talk to the god, and it's just like Uryu, the white haired childhood friend character, and then the god deity or whatever with one of the animal masks. It's not a fox mask, it's like another
Yeah.
tanuki mask or whatever. And essentially
Yeah.
what she was
They're like
saying was
animal
just like,
god.
hey,
Yeah.
You don't think I was gonna give you a wish this grand and expensive? I was like, yo, a whole world was born out of that wish. You were not getting this turned back without it costing you something. And he was like, well, what's the cost? The cost is that white-haired girl. If they do go back to the reality, the string of fate that could potentially lean in many directions, the one that connects her to Uryu will be forever cut. She will never get with him ever. She loses prospects. She's no longer a
So there's no
prospect,
chance, basically.
and it's like destiny type time. And then he was like, what do you want to do?" And he's sitting there like trying to like
Ooh.
play semantics. And then she was just like, he was like, you're a wonderful girl, and blah blah blah. He was like, Uryu, if you don't shut up with all this corny stuff and tell me how you really feel. And he was just like, I really want to go back to the girls. I feel like that's where I belong, and I really, my heart belongs towards taking care of them and making sure that they're all right. And then she cries, and then she's just like, I know, and like that this is fine. And then they decide to make the decision, and then snip snip, that whole reality gets undone,
Well,
and
yeah, it's all her fault.
no more prospects for that one chick ever again. And then
Dang.
they go
I
back
mean,
to
yeah.
telling the girls what happened, alternate universe, blah blah blah. Or he didn't. He went to the black haired Tron chick. She was just like, "You know something? Do you know me from the original universe?" She's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Or do you?" Blah blah blah, like being cryptic or whatever. And so he's thinking through different things. Then they just have an episode where like the girls show their appreciation, I think, or something of those lines. And then it's sort of one of those things like, "Wow, like this is my daily life. Look at what happens. I wonder what's next." Curtains. Season 1 done. 6 out of 10.
That is a big like finale arc for season one. I really, really, how do I say this in the best way possible? It's like the concepts of what to do are there. Like I personally like the idea of somebody, a childhood friend, wishes that he wants to be, wishes a universe where he and her get together. But within this, we learn about his connection with the sisters, the three sisters, which pushes his development to understanding them as now an outsider, like taking him back to
But
the
then him
beginning
actually
of the
having already
of the
changed,
series
that was awesome.
with the information he
There were
has.
just slight tweaks that would have made the
Right,
world of a
right.
difference.
Like that concept works. Yeah, like the whole thing I'm reading, I'm like, yeah, the supernatural element should have been prevalent early on in
They kind
this.
of
I
did.
think.
Some
That
sort of
one
hints or
ribbon
something to
falling
be like,
from, you
hey, there's
know.
more to this show. But like, yeah, but like we've seen stuff in like any type of show where like it's supernatural and like it was just one small thing of like, oh, this could be supernatural. But then there's like body swap episodes and like time travel later on. Like that was just a huge
I
scale.
think.
Like I need bigger hints.
Go ahead, bro.
I think it's also, but I was gonna say like my biggest thing is the fact that I do like the supernatural thing could also played in way early in the anime in terms of like
Mhm.
also with his faith too, because like you said, I'm sure there's like some instances where like maybe going back, supernatural was probably always there, but like Malcolm was saying, it wasn't as emphasized as much. And I do feel like the idea of going on these supernatural adventures that kind of like scale from like um believable could be talked about through like science or like theory to okay, yeah, this is some next level. There must be a creator here present type of level throughout throughout the season. Like I feel like I don't I feel like this is an example of like Hitman Reborn where they took like a gag manga and produced it and then he was like, hey, let's make
No,
it a
I
battle
disagree with
shonen now
that
suddenly later down the line.
because the supernatural was there within the first five
Really?
episodes,
Okay.
where Hitman Reborn had a good like 30 episodes of mixed gag shonen vibes before it
That's
decided to
true.
be like it was like 80-20 in terms of gag
The Mafia
shonen,
show.
and then it went from like 30-70, and then again like 15 like 85
Yeah.
later on, where
Big
the
switch.
gag stuff fell off immediately once they went to the Byakuran time travel arc in Reborn.
True.
But this one they started early, and I think the biggest,
Dang.
biggest, biggest thing, if I had to say anything that would have made the show better, I don't even think they needed to start the show off with more more bold supernatural stuff, maybe a little bit, but I think they spent so much time in the first couple episodes wasted on these dumb gags. Some of them I think were fine. Honestly, the first 5 episodes I wouldn't change too much just because like just let the show start how it wants to start. And they gave a lot of information. They established the fact that there's background character. They established the fact that Uri was an orphan. They established the fact that he was atheist because his mom died, despite him praying harder than any of the other kids for real. And then they also like gave him a lot of really prominent character flaws. Flawed characters are fine. Flawed characters push story. You know what I mean? And when they develop, it's that much more meaningful. Because what I don't like is how like his flaws became his character instead of just a symptom of who he was, and that who he was never really got revealed outside of him just being like kind of a pygmy. Um, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, it reminds me that when you're breaking down a character like that, where like their trait is now like just their character. That's all you kind of reference them as,
Yeah,
basically, like, kind of like a one note ish. It's similar to some shows where it's like, or I guess you could say more American sitcoms where if the show goes too far than planned, then eventually these characters become their own stereotypes themselves instead of being like
who
nuanced,
happen to have
complex
certain
character
traits that might
dynamics. Now it's
change,
like this one note stereotypical
mind you.
character.
Yeah,
You're
it's
right,
like
that could change,
who is
right? So I agree. I
Uyu
see it. I see what
outside
you're
of
saying.
being a having a savior complex, and we never really got a full answer to that question. He has chronic good guy syndrome. Like we never totally explained that. We never really get into it outside of the fact that like he really cried. He cried really hard, and he was a sweet kid, and he has a lot of talent and this and that. They didn't really get into studying being his hobby. Mind you, that could have really been like that's a real mundane point, but like I think mastering the mundane is what makes romance and slice of life shows so compelling. And I think by the end of the show,
Yeah,
it was like he was starting to feel like a real character, but he still felt like he was just the sum of his like actions and catchphrases instead of an actual character. Where I think Ya and Yuna started to really get
yeah.
there. The childhood friend didn't even need a lot of screen time to get there, and then she regressed a little bit with that whole Yandere stuff. Asahi, I think she's probably the weakest character in the show, the youngest sister. Um, but yeah, there's just so many things about this
Yeah.
show that were like high potential. I think if they really like dabbled a little bit more into the slice of life elements to really like make those characters feel like people, then a lot of those cringy moments wouldn't have been so cringy. They might have been like executed more organically and therefore a lot more creatively instead of just like this blah 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 and that. And I appreciate the show trying to be self aware of some of these gags, but it didn't necessarily elevate past slight self awareness. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's my thoughts.
So you said there were some episodes where it was like a 7.5, and some episodes it was like a 4. So what is your rating, and would you recommend this,
My
and
rating is
who's a
six
good audience
out
for
of ten.
this?
I would not recommend this show, and I would recommend this to someone who's in high school or middle school because I don't think what bothered me is going to bother someone who's younger.
Dang.
I think there's enough connective tissue in terms of the fact that like there's relatability when you're in that age group and you're watching a show like that that can really bypass some of this character like this lack of good character writing where we're way too old. I need good character writing. I can't watch this stuff otherwise. Um, and I think if it wasn't for characters like Ya and Yuna, and then like some of the adult characters and like some of the more community like in the broader town based plot elements, I would have rated this show even a 4 or 5. I think it can't go any lower than 6 because it had
Dang.
a lot of potential. It had certain stretches of episodes that were like genuinely like, oh dang, I gotta go to sleep, but I really want to hit the next episode. And if I get that, then I'm like, yeah, that's good. That pushes you in the 7 territory, but that wasn't remotely consistent, and it was just like it felt like when you're in gridlock and you finally start making some momentum and it's like bam, more gridlock out of nowhere, so you have to stop from 60 and go back down the driving at 8 miles per hour. That's what this show felt like, and I found that extremely jarring. It was like
Mm.
somebody took all the ingredients of a good show, and it's like if you had a meal and it's like, oh, like this and that and salmon and rice and some broccoli. Like those things are good when they're portioned and spread out and had the sauce. It's like someone took that and then put it all in a blender, and now it's this big paste. And then they gave it to you, and they said everything's here. Why don't you like the show? And I'm like, because that's not how it's supposed to be eaten. It's not how it's supposed to be taken. And I think that's the best way I can describe this show. All the right ingredients. With it, some ingredients they could have done
Hmm.
without, but most of the right
Hmm.
ingredients. But just
So
like the pacing was weird, the directing was kind of trash, and a lot of really good potential wasted.
now, Malcolm, do you feel after hearing Jason's explanation, it seemed like you was going back and forth a little bit on this. Where do you finally sit with Amagami Sister season one? Does it feel like a cozy rewatch for you, or do you feel like you can skip this?
Uh, this isn't fair because I've only watched 5 episodes or 4, whatever it was, and only heard the rest through Jason's narrative. And Jason is a very good narrator, and so maybe part of that is just giving him credit. Um, a lot of it in the beginning, what you were explaining, was like, "Wow, this is really interesting. I can't believe I dropped it." To a certain point, I was like, I verbalized. I was like, "Why did I drop this show? This seems like this would pick up and I enjoy it." And then when you said the best friend, that whole scene, I was like, "Yep, never mind. I can see what you mean. Like, just complete 180. I don't want to do this. This is wasting my time." But then it changed from like, "Oh, this seems like really fire," to like, "Oh my god, this is wasting my time," to, "Oh my god, this seems like a fun train wreck." Where it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say it's good, but I sometimes like the chaos and want to see a chaos train wreck in a
I
TV
mean,
show. So
let's just call it the
I
category
don't
of
know if
hot
that makes
trash,
sense.
because I started watching another one of those
Hot
like
trash anime.
12-word titled isekais, and it was better in 2 episodes.
Oh, really? Dang. Well, that says it
I
all right
don't.
there, y'all.
You also have a bias towards isekai, so
That's
that's
true. You
you
know,
could have
That's
an
not
he
true
isekai
lived.
because I
about
watched another
nothing, and
one that
you'd be like,
was
"Oh my
trash.
god,
It was I got
keep
reincarnated
keep."
as a vending machine. I couldn't watch it, bro. I just
Yeah,
hit
you
it just
watched
to
that one? I skip that
see.
one every time. I'm not
I'm
watching
allowed
that.
to just
I'm not
see. I
watching
couldn't even get past the 3 episode rule.
it. Yeah. That just I don't even know. I can't even imagine what the plot is even about. I don't even want to know. Don't even tell me. I don't want to know.